thank you, all of you doctors who've taken out time from their busy schedules. I know how difficult it is for you all medical practitioners to take out time and come for events like these. Very, very warm welcome from our side. You know, when we speak of women and health, women really are the backbone of our society. But when it comes to the sector of health, they are also the most ignored, not just a second class, but almost a third class citizen, because we're all taught, it's ingrained in our minds that, we need to take care of our families perhaps first. We need to think of our husbands, our children, and that's why women's health always suffers the most. What would you say? Without much ado, I want to jump into this discussion. What would you say, ma'am, say Dr. Vidhi Chaudhary, about the significance, the importance of women's health, why we need to speak about it today, why it's a dialogue which needs to happen at the earliest, why it's paramount for us as a nation to think of the collective health of our women, ma'am? Ma'am, you can take the mic.
So I feel that the women's health is very important because with the women starts the family. So if the women's health is not taken care of, so the entire family suffers. Say for example, if a woman is anemic, okay, and she goes through the childbirth, so it has implications on the childbirth also. A woman who's tired all the time may not even take care of the family in an effective manner as a healthy woman would be. And I would like to say now the scenario is not that bad as it was 20 years back. So there has been change in the mindset, and there has been a lot of government programs also. So now, though women recognize, but still a lot needs to be done. So anemia still is a problem in our country. I think that is one of the things which starts from the adolescent itself. If we see our adolescent population, so there also we find, these women, at times they don't take care of their health, because maybe they are involved with the, family work, with the family issues, so that thing is there. So I think the women's health is very important, and it starts from the home itself. And the best thing is the nutrition should be taken care of for all the women, beginning from the adolescent.
Right, nutrition, extremely important, and you also spoke of anemia. So a lot of women are anemic in our country. In fact, if I'm correct, about 50% or so, it's that prevalent, and something which we rarely know about. Dr. Sabhyata Gupta, ma'am, you're also the chairman of the Department of Gynecology at the Medanta Hospital, and I'm sure you deal with a lot of women in the age of obviously pregnancy, childbearing. Anemia, very, very common. In fact, I'm anemic as well, and I had a baby a year and a half ago, and I didn't know it myself. What would you say? Why is it such an endemic problem, and why is there so little awareness around it?
See, as you said, that ladies and their health is never ever a priority. I mean, in general, of course, there are exceptions. So that's never ever a priority. They actually put everyone else before them, be it health, be it eating food, be it anything for that matter. So because of that also, and then you can say our socio-cultural setup is also like that they are never ever a priority. So anemia sets in right from the beginning. So if you want to deal with anemia, then you have to take care of the nutrition of the person right from day one. Or maybe, from in utero only. Once a lady is pregnant, that is the time she should get good nutrition. Then when the child is born, the child should get a good nutrition, and as it goes on. So through, from childhood through menopause, the nutrition is to be taken care of. That is one. And second is, of course, there are other factors, genetic and stuff, that does not to be dealt with here. So one is the nutrition one. The other thing is that, the awareness is not there. If the lady is suffering, she doesn't know that she's having anemia. Yes. And even if she's, telling it to her people around her, she's a dependent kind of a lady here. So even if she tells people around her, be it her husband or her other relations, she's not taken very seriously. Fine. And then the second thing is that the awareness is not there, that these symptoms are because of anemia, and they are to be dealt with by a doctor. So that is how it works. So I think one is that we need to create awareness. Second is that there should be availability of good healthcare centers. Availability is there, the accessibility should also be there.
Yes, and you know, anemia, as you rightly said, ma'am, is preventable.
Yeah.
Anything preventable should not be prevalent. Forget endemic in our society.
Absolutely,
In fact, you know, when we speak of preventable diseases and deaths, I think Dr. Meenu Walia, you'd be the right person to weigh in here, ma'am. You know, as a senior director of medical oncology at the Max Hospital, you deal with a lot of breast cancer patients, and we were discussing earlier about cervical cancer, about breast cancer. In fact, breast cancer, the number one cancer in our country. Breast cancer mortality preventable, but I'm sure many patients reach the hospital level only at their third or perhaps the fourth stage, which is what makes their treatment very difficult. Why is it, ma'am, that there is less awareness around breast cancer? Because it's perplexing to me, and I'm sure to many others in the audience as well. There have been so many government programs regarding the same. We all know how to feel our breast. We all know about mammography. Then why is it that you know, despite of it being preventable, the cases are rising and so is the mortality?
Correct me if I am wrong. What I wanted to say is, yes, there is very less awareness about breast cancer, but I'll say breast cancer is not the only thing. If you say, I mean, looking at a broader aspect, there is very less awareness about the health issues as such. In India, in our country, I'll say both males and females put together, health is never a priority. And then preventive health is never a priority. And when it comes to men and women, then definitely women are lacking much behind the men also. And yes, if within that health scenario, if we start talking of, then they will still be aware of something like a heart disease, something like high cholesterol, something like these kind of things. But this, coming back to your original question, cancers become not, cancer awareness is definitely, I will say, in last in anybody's list. One is because of the simple thought process, we don't want to talk about, but most of us have so much stresses in our life already that people don't want to talk about something which is negative, something which is not, like they don't want to think about it. So I was talking to one of my patients also the other day. I say, we Indians, we always plan. We plan a house, we plan even our next car, we plan the next refrigerator we want to buy, we plan our kids' weddings, we even plan the next color of the sarees that we are going to buy, the next dresses we are going to buy, but we never plan the old age, and invariably we never plan, that is, there will be hardly a person who will die without actually going through the morbidity or mortality of a disease. So disease is as much a part of life as is anything else. But you will never hear anybody actually planning for that old age or planning for diseases or doing anything preventive for that. Then that is one of the reason I say कि because that preventive mind setup is not there, that preventive mind is not there, we do not want to hear about, we don't want to talk about, and there is hardly any awareness about diseases. And yes, cancer is one of them. And breast cancer, just to quote and reiterate the fact which you already said, so breast cancer is the number one cancer all over the world. So 2020, the entire world, it knows only COVID. So the world is after 2020, I mean it is all pre and post COVID. What people don't know is earlier than 2020, I mean what another major thing that happened on the field of cancer is that after in the year 2020, breast cancer became the number one cancer all over the world. So mind you, what I want to say is, at the back of the mind, everybody sitting here must be thinking that breast cancer is the number one cancer among the women all over the world. No. Breast cancer is the number one cancer putting men and women together. So a cancer that majorly happens in 50% of the population, when it becomes number one cancer all over the world, so we can actually, I mean, we do not realize what is the huge problem that we are all going, which probably will be there in the future. We might all be seeing in the future. And worse than that is that yes, in US, probably the breast cancer may be much more than in today's state, much more than in our own country. But what is different is, because of their health awareness, because of the screening programs, because of the preventive mindset, their majority of the cancers are detected in stage 0, stage 1 and stage 2. So early stage breast cancers. In our country, in numbers, numerically, we are still less than America as far as breast cancer is concerned. But for every 2 women detected of breast cancer, 1 is going to die in the coming 1 or 2 years just because of the disease. What does that mean? It means that 50% of your patients are diagnosed with breast cancer in advanced stages.
Yes.
So that is the girth of the problem. That is the real realm of the problem that we are facing and that is something that we all need to do about it.
Exactly, and ma'am, that was the point which I was also trying to highlight. I think you have elaborated it on very succinctly and beautifully, and you also highlighted one point, which is stigma. There is another issue related to women's health, reproduction, and of course motherhood, which is IVF. And I think the right person to bring in at this point of time would be Dr. Ritu Punhani. She's not just a gynecologist but also an IVF specialist, ma'am. When we speak of stigma around women's bodies, women's health, motherhood is something which, if not all, but many want to embrace. Unfortunately, some can't. And they can take the route of IVF. That's where specialists like you come in. And I'm sure you've also seen stigma, hesitancy in your own patients when it comes to taking that first step to take that IVF treatment, haven't you, ma'am?
Yeah, as you rightly said, it's a social stigma. That's why most of the women are approaching us. We are trying to offer them motherhood, and we want them to have a child. We want to help all these childless couples. But the social stigma, I think it's never ending. It's very difficult to help the society to understand that it's not a stigma. They feel if a mother or if a woman cannot reproduce, like she's of no use. That's what the society feels. So I think it's time we have to change, that women are not only for reproduction, they are for everything. But of course, if they have to reproduce, if they have some ailment, some sort of infertility problem, they have to approach an infertility specialist and get the treatment done. Depending on then when they approach us, what kind of infertility they have, what are the causes. As you see nowadays, infertility is really on the rise. The main factors for it are like basically as diet we have discussed, Then even the environmental toxins nowadays, the pollution, the stress, all these things are adding on to the set stage of infertility. And one of the most common causes nowadays, if you can say, is the advanced age of marriages. All the young women, girls are trying to postpone their marriages.
Who wants to get married young? Nobody does.
But then they are postponing the marriage. So they are actually leaving the golden period behind. You rightly said not everybody is wanting to have a child, but I feel most of them, women or girls, want to have a child. They want to enjoy motherhood. So this is the right occasion, and I think we have a lot of young crowd where I should say that even if you don't want to become a mother at young age, you have an option through IVF where you can do oocyte freezing, And especially so, as Dr. Meenu ma'am is also there, we have cancer patients coming, which must be coming to her. So they can also do, we call it oncofertility, they can also preserve their fertility for future. You can become a mother whenever you want, but at least preserve your oocytes, in the right time. That is really important. Don't become a mother at young age, but you can become a mother at 8 age, but your eggs would be young, so you don't have those problems.
And which is the flexibility which IVF gives you, because in many professions one doesn't want to keep their profession, their work life in the back burner, and you can always resort to, of course, advanced sciences like IVF. And we'll speak of there's an ethical debate around it, and we'll speak of that as well as we move forward in this discussion. But Dr. Vidhi, ma'am, you're not just a gynecology, she's also a professor at the Lady Hardinge Hospital and College. Ma'am, what about really awareness when we speak of the youngsters? And I'm only speaking of urban areas. We've spoken of breast cancer. We've spoken of anemia. Arthritis, very, very common in women. A lot of it has to do with nutrition and early nutrition. But why is it we don't have enough awareness? And as a woman doctor yourself, as a woman yourself, what is it that you would like to advise today, ma'am?
I think the nutrition is a continuous process, so it should start from the adolescent itself. I think it should begin from when the child is young. So most of our Indian diets, they are little deficient in proteins because we don't put that much emphasis on the proteins as well as the calcium. These are two things. So I think the nutrition and exercise, this is very important, both for men and as well as for the women. And for women, it is more important because we attain our peak bone mass by 30s. So whatever peak bone mass you want to attain, you will get it by 30. Afterwards, there is always, there is a resorption or, there is decrease in the bone mass and which increases in the menopause. So what we lack is we need to have exercise daily. We should expose our body to sunlight for some time, and especially right from the young age, because what happens is people have this, they eat a lot of junk food. So we don't incorporate the habit of having at least 40 to 50 grams of proteins every day, and that calcium intake is very important in the form of milk, yogurt, or cheese products and everything which is made from home. Maybe once in a while you can have a processed food, but a processed food should always be no. And you should also emphasize on the iron-rich diets. Right now what we are facing is the iron deficiency, calcium deficiency, and little bit of protein deficiency, especially in the rural and in the the middle class area. Maybe in the not so, the richer class, they know the importance of all these things. But our rural population and basically, so that is where they have to emphasize. So, and all these diets you can get from a very very low cost foods like green leafy vegetables,
So,
simple
point
dal
taken.
and
A
pulses.
lot of it has to do with nutrition, and it has to start early.
So if your nutrition is okay, you automatically you are healthy, and once you are healthy, your reflexes are stronger. You learn things faster, your brain works faster, everything is linked to nutrition, and nutrition is not so, it's not so costly. You can get it very easily with the foods available in our market.
Osteoarthritis is very common in our country. It's something which you also spoke about. I'd like Dr. Sabhita Gupta to join us here, ma'am. Dr. Gupta, we spoke of calcium, the significance. Osteoarthritis very, very common. There are many issues unique to women, menopause being one of them. Why is it that there is so little dialogue around it, and why would you say perhaps today platforms like these very, very important?
I think one point is the hesitation.
Yes.
Because everyone is hesitant. In fact, when you talk about the menopausal symptoms especially, lot of urinary problems, lot of sexual issues which crop up, and the ladies, they do not come to
and
the
UTIs
forefront.
and STDs, any which may have a greater impact on women, don't they? The UTIs and STD have a greater impact on women as compared to men, don't they? If both of them affected with the same.
Certainly, it has more impact on the ladies because the structure is such, the anatomical structure is such. So the ladies are very hesitant in coming forth with these complaints. So I think it's just the lack of awareness. They do not know, one, that it is a disease process, and second, they do not know where to go and when to go.
Shame and stigma, would you say, is what is keeping them away, especially when you speak of STDs?
Yes, certainly, that is there. When it's STD, or for that matter, any vaginal infection, the stigma is attached to it. They don't come to the forefront.
And there is another type of cancer, Dr. Walia, that is cervical cancer. Stigma, shame around it, obviously, understandable, prevalent also in our country. Pap smear, something so common, something which perhaps should be one of our screening tests, and I'm sure many of us would not even know exactly what a pap smear is. It's not recommended by most of the doctors. Why is it that there is so little awareness around it? And there is a vaccine for cervical cancer as well now, which is of course making things better. But again, like many, I'd like to confess, I didn't know about it. I missed my window.
So again it comes that why there is so little awareness. I think everybody has a role to play. Government, the health agencies, we as health professionals, and even the media, and plus the population also. I mean, all of us are contributory in not actually creating the awareness or probably focusing on health as a priority. So we all, for example, whenever you talk to the media guys also, most of the times you get one statement. I mean, what makes a better news?
What are you saying? We are doing a half-hour show thrice a week called Medically Speaking. I'm just letting you know.
So what I'm trying to say is, what makes a better news is something what people want to hear. So every Tom, Dick and Harry probably gets more attention in the media rather than the health related issues. And when it comes to government or the health professionals, I think the basket is huge. They have too many things in their bucket to actually start focusing on each and every aspect, but it is high time. We all need to focus on that. And as you rightly said, so cervical cancer, a cancer which is almost 99.9% preventable in today's date. We have a vaccination for it. We have a screening test, very easily doable screening test, which can easily be done in a simple OPD, in any gynecological OPD. I mean, which can be done, can actually pick up this cancer in a stage 0 cancer, in a pre-malignant condition. Even then, we don't propagate it enough, and people don't know about it, and it's high time that we do something more about it.
Okay, awareness important and key. Last question to Dr. Ritu. Awareness around IVF. Why is it so important, ma'am?
It's actually IVF was a landmark discovery in the field of medicine. So people should be aware that there is a method by which they can get pregnant if they're unable to achieve pregnancy on their own, depending on the indications. So awareness is regarding that they should approach an infertility specialist in time, not when they have achieved the age of 35 plus. It's very important to understand for us females that once you achieve the age of 35, a little too late to approach a fertility specialist. So try and come as soon as possible. There's no harm in getting pregnant early. You'll still be happy and healthy. So healthy woman, healthy family and happy family is what we all want. So I think awareness is important. It's a key of importance for everything, and so for IVF too.
Well, absolutely, ma'am. Very well said. And I'd like to thank all of you. It was a very riveting and informative session. Thank you for joining us here on the first ever conclave of Women Want. Thank you so much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.